Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Police in Beijing, Shanghai and other major cities across China are out in force after unprecedented protests took place against COVID regulations over the weekend. Thousands of protesters took to the streets in Shanghai on Sunday night with occasional violent scenes. Meanwhile, large numbers of protesters took to the streets in Wuhan. Video showed hundreds of protesters tearing down barriers surrounding compounds under lockdowns. Here, hundreds of people took to the streets in the city of Chengdu. In some footage, dozens of uniformed police locked arms to form a line facing off, demonstrators chanting slogans. And it's not just people in China. Here, people sympathetic to the protests out in force in Sydney and here in London. The latest demonstrations were sparked by a fatal fire in a block of flats in the northwestern city of Urumqi, which killed 10 people last week. The scale of the unrest is incredibly rare in China, where mass gatherings are highly controlled.
It's crazy. I think first it's because of the Xi Jinping, the president. We should end his dictatorship. He only cares about himself, his dictatorship. So this is why many people died of him. So, but now it's a good news. Is many people getting to realize the president is illegal.
A landslide in Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé, has killed at least 14 people who were attending a funeral. Dozens of people were attending a funeral on a soccer pitch at the base of a 20-metre high soil embankment, which collapsed on top of them. Yaoundé is one of the wettest cities in Africa and is made of dozens of steep, shack-lined hills. Heavy rains have triggered several devastating floods throughout the country this year, weakening infrastructure and displacing thousands. Meanwhile, the prefecture of Naples says a newborn baby and 2 children were among 8 people killed by a landslide on the southern Italian holiday island of Ischia. 4 people were still missing as dozens of emergency workers began to remove mud and debris from the streets after a wave of mud, debris and stones broke away from the island's highest mountain and crashed down over houses and roads. Episodes of heavy rainfall are becoming more common and more intense in the light of climate change, exacerbating hydrogeological risks in many parts of Italy. The European policing agency Europol says it has helped coordinate the takedown of a cartel managed from the United Arab Emirates, believed to control up to a third of Europe's cocaine trade. Police arrested a total of 49 suspects in raids in Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Spain and the UAE. The operation to coordinate raids was dubbed Desert Light and had been planned over a period of 2 years. A small plane that crashed into high-voltage power lines near Washington, D.C. has been removed by a crane hours after both the pilot and passenger were rescued. According to the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service, the aircraft crashed in misty and wet conditions in Montgomery Village in Maryland. It became caught up in live power lines about 100 feet from the ground. Crews are still working to remove the plane from power lines. The Mooney M-20J aircraft had been due to land at Montgomery Air Park, close to the crash site.
Goshen Road will be closed for quite some time as the plane needs to be secured, removed, and the power lines need to be restrung and reconnected.
And finally, dancers from all over Venezuela have filled the capital city Caracas' Sports National Institute Stadium to perform in the largest ever Rueda de Casino dance. Rueda de Casino is a style of salsa dancing where couples form a circle and do turn patterns at the same time. One of the organisers said the over 2,000 dancers aimed at bringing to Latin America the world record title that is currently held in Spain. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.